we are so amazed. I couldn't believe when we heard that you want to be part of this whole aging but dangerous story.
Yes. Are you kidding? Have you had a chance to see the book yet?
Oh, yes, I swallowed your book. You know what? It's amazing. And the most important thing, what I really love, it's that it's so real and with so much charm and humor. I mean, I loved it.
Oh, good. Because the book, interestingly, if you were going to describe the book, you'd probably say it was about aging but dangerous.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, you found us and we found you. And I thought when someone can talk about aging and especially about aging but dangerous, that Joan, definitely loving the subject, and we're all aging at the end. Getting ready.
But as you found on your show, when people feel like it's not just happening to them alone, which can be a little scary and worrisome at times, but when it's like everybody can talk about it and say, yeah, sure, we're getting older, but hey, so what? Let's talk about all the things we can do and all the ways we can have fun. Then you don't mind the aging process so much and you don't feel so alone in it.
I'm on a way and I'm really happy to be part of it. And especially sitting on a source, with such a beautiful, amazing ladies, it really can confirm aging is just a number. And it's not that bad, depending on what you make of it. Huh?
Yeah.
Perfect. Dear Joan, we have 1,000 of questions. I prepared really a ton of questions for you.
All right. I'm ready.
And I would love to know, how do you see today's situation in the world? I mean, we are now very active all in social media. We see what's going on outside, the Silver Sisters, development and all boomer generations. I mean, they're amazing ladies, so much fun to be with. Oh. Incredible, so powerful and inspiring. What's going on?
Well, when you just said the boomer generation, and that's interesting. It's an interesting perspective because the boomers were really the first generation to come along, after all these respectful generations before them. And they kind of said, remember the saying that they used to chant, hell no, we won't go. And it was to the Vietnam War. But it put them out there as teenagers, really, and 20-somethings, as a group that said, if we don't want to do something, we're going to get together and we're not going there. And we're going to let you know that we think we shouldn't go there. And they've kind of stayed in that head all the way through the decades. And, when the health boom came along, they kind of all got together and I think that boomer generation is what catapulted America into the whole health field, if you will, even if sometimes they might have been paying lip service to it and not actually doing it. And then when it came to aging, once again, I feel like the whole generation said, hell no, we won't go. Because, I read somewhere where it said, we're not waiting so much to see how aging affects the boomers, but how boomers affect aging. Because as a generation, they were an active generation and, wonderful modern health and the fact that they were all now much more physically active and engaged in life. They were, I'm part of it. We are a generation that just says, we don't have to retire. What do you mean we're supposed to retire? We don't have to be supposed to do anything. We'll do whatever we want.
Oh, yes.
And that's kind of where I think the fact that this boomer generation, I think that it in and of itself has so drastically transformed aging. And not just in this country, but, around the world. So I think that, I think about when my mom was younger and when she was a young person, her generation coming out into the world and starting to work. Do you know that in America, the life expectancy in 1939, which is when she would have been a young woman, the life expectancy was only 59.
Oh my gosh, I knew.
Oh my gosh, is right.
And you know what, Joan? I work at the University Tübingen with archaeologists, and when I hear that stone men, like, really, they live only till 30. And
I know, it's crazy.
It's crazy. And look at this, what's going on.
I know. And now, not too long ago, I still have it here. In fact, it's a Time magazine, an issue of Time magazine, and it's a little baby on the front. And it said the person who is going to live to be 142 has already been born, which is really just a mind blower. I mean, you have to ask the question, is that amazing? Or is that really, really daunting? Because, yeah, I mean, you can play that one both ways, but certainly they say that most young people today are going to live to be over 100. Because in our society in America, the fastest growing segment of the population, you have your kids, your middle, and your older, which is now a whole different thing. It's not like it used to be. The segment of the American population that is growing the fastest is what's called the oldest old. It's over 100. There were only like, I don't know, 3,000 of them. Now there's like 130,000, and they
celebrate it.
It's crazy. People are living older, but if we're going to live older, we want to be in good health, and we want to retain our cognitive thinking. I wanted to write this book, Mima, because, well, the main reason I wanted to do it is because I was aging.
Oh my gosh, I don't believe you.
No, I mean, I am. And, I just turned 70.
I cannot believe, to be honest, really, you look amazing.
Well, thank you. I love makeup too.
Oh my gosh.
But I remember a long time ago when I wrote my very first book, and it was a bestseller, and the publisher came back and said, "Oh, it's a bestseller, write another book." And I looked at my book agent one day and said, "So what am I going to write about next?" And he said, "You will always write about that which you want to know more about." And he was so right. When I was leaving, as co-host of Good Morning America, I wrote a book about change and dealing with change. When we were about to have the twins, I wrote Growing Up Healthy. I wanted to know more about nutrition and kids. And I wrote Had I Known as I was going through my cancer journey. And so now I thought, all right, well, answer that question, Joan. What am I dealing with? What do I want to know more about? Successful aging. And then I really thought about how we as women tend to age. And if these subjects, leaky bladders, hot flashes, loss of libido, if they're taboo subjects, then what happens is that each woman by herself in her own little world experiences, and she looks down and her waistline is expanding and she says, "Swear to God, I did not eat more Tostitos last year. Like, what's going on with me?" And she starts experiencing all these different things. She's kind of relegated to thinking, what did I do wrong? What's happening to me? I'm falling apart. Should I be worried about these things? And if you go down that path, pretty soon you get to, am I less appealing? Am I less sexy? Am I less relevant? And that's a horrible path to go down. So my whole purpose was to create a conversation starter and throw it all out there. The good, bad, ugly, worrisome, embarrassing, and just say, come on, let's all talk about it, because it's going to happen to every one of us. And there's even comfort, I think, Mima, in just saying that. It's not just happening to you. It's happening to every single one of us. You know,
you gave me so much hope and so good advices. Yeah. Even when I noticed, you said so many women, they don't want to go to see a doctor. They don't want to step on that scale.
Yes.
And I needed to laugh so much when you said, I even pull my earrings when I have.
Oh, yeah.
Shoes, great. and that's really the point. Why we are like that? I mean, we are living in a modern world. We are all active. I mean, intelligent, smart, pretty.
Yeah.
But you know, as you said something really interesting, like women are more considerate about others than about themselves. What do you think was?
I think that we're somehow just wired that way as a species unto ourselves, us women. I think that we're just inherently we're caretakers, and that's how our minds think. I swear to God that, and I think I'm like everyone else. I wake up next to my husband. I'm immediately thinking, what appointments do my kids have today? Is this the day they have a dentist appointment? Does Max have soccer this afternoon? Or that's what we're thinking. Have I gotten gifts for them for the holidays yet? My husband wakes up, I'm sure, thinking, oh, should I go to the gym before I go to the office? What kind of appointments do I have today at the office? We're just wired differently. And because of that, we've got this to-do list. Even if it's not written down, it is right there in our head. You know, it's in our brain. And everything that we need to do for everybody else is on that to-do list. And sometimes that list can get long. And what's the thing that drops off of it? It's taking care of yourself. That's what tends to drop off of it. And I think we're all the same as women. I mean, you're over there in Germany. I mean, I don't think it makes any difference what country we are living in. I think that we as a little species, as women, that we all kind of think the same and approach life in the same way. But the danger in that, and there is a real danger in it, is that we don't take the time to go and take care of ourselves. That's how annual mammograms get missed. That's how annual gynecological appointments get missed. Well, a lot of those appointments get missed because of that damn scale.
I know.
And you say, I'm going to go. I swear I'm going to go. We're talking to ourselves, of course, but I'm going to lose 10 pounds first, and then I'm going to go. And at that point, time marches on. That appointment, you know, isn't on your calendar, and you forget. And before you know it, a year has lapsed, and a lot can go wrong in a year. Not, you know, to be a pessimist, but, you know, knowledge is power when it comes to our health. So if you stay on top of it, you know, I wrote this book with a sense of humor, because you can't talk about leaky bladders without a sense of humor. But it is packed full of information.
Definitely.
And it's packed full of a lot of authentic, candid stories about when I've screwed up, so that I can not be preachy. I never want to be preachy, but I want to say, look, I know how this happens, and I've done that. I've put off an appointment with the doctor because I wanted to lose those extra few pounds before I went back. But here's the appointments we really should have every year. And then I list them all. And I think that we're so busy, you know, and especially I think women are busy because many of us have jobs outside the home, but, you know, you still come back to that other job, home, you know,
family,
taking care of it, grocery shopping, cooking dinner, making sure the kids have everything they need.
But how do you set your priorities? I mean, if you have a message for us, please help us to set the priorities. I mean, I want to go to make sport every day, you know, I still motivate, especially in the morning. And then, you know, the things start to happen. And the to-do list is always longer and longer.
So I just heard that you like to go in the morning, and that's the best thing to do. I find that sometimes if I put on my workout clothes in the morning, I'm much more inclined to do it.
Yes.
As opposed to then having to have the business clothes on and then go and change. It's also really good for us to do it in the morning. If you can get outside, especially the world we're living in right now, if you can get outside, falling asleep at night is one of those things that becomes more difficult as you age. As for women, I don't know if that's true for men. Men seem to put their head horizontal and they're out like in 30 seconds. But for women, when you have that estrogen plummet, and the melatonin goes right along with it, it becomes more and more difficult to fall asleep and to stay asleep. But if you go out in the morning and get sunlight on you, it helps what's called your circadian rhythm, how your body is used to working. And on the same note, if you keep a television on at night or keep looking at your phone or a laptop, that sends a signal to your brain that it's light and you shouldn't be going to sleep. You know, I mean, I wanted to convey some of that information that we all have probably heard, and we probably actually know it, but it just takes one more woman who's kind of like a sister, like I have a close connection.
To
I feel
support you, to kick your ass.
with women.
Sorry.
Yeah, I with all the women on my Facebook and on my Instagram and the viewers who followed me for so many years on GMA, like it's, I've been out in public at times. I remember my mother-in-law, one of the first times when I first met my husband and we were out together, and some woman like ran up to me and said, "Joan," and like put her arms around me. And afterwards, my mother-in-law said, "They're in your personal space." I said, "Oh, okay, welcome to my world." I don't feel I have a familiar connection with people like maybe Mariska Hargitay on Law and Order. They would look at her and she would be familiar because they see her on TV, but they wouldn't go up to her. But with me, I was in their bedrooms every morning from 7 to 9. And it's a very private time of day. You wouldn't invite your best friend over, the beds aren't made, your hair's not combed, but I'm there. And it's a different kind of relationship that you have with people. I think it's more of a familial. It's almost like you're the aunt, the cousin, the best friend that they just haven't seen for a while. And I still have people come up to me, believe it or not. I've been off Good Morning America for 20 years, and yet I still have people that come up to me with that kind of a greeting, and they'll say, "I love you" in the morning. Aww. They probably think 10 steps down the road, "Oh, wait a minute, she's not on in the morning anymore." But it's just this immediate connection.
Joan, you're so open. You're so reflecting and good in communication with other people. I mean, we just met right now, and I feel like I know you for forever. And
good.
Were you always like that? I know that you're very curious. That's also really something amazing, because writing books on different subjects. I mean, it's not possible for everyone, but you hit the dot every time. I mean, were you always like that, or how this process, your previous life, helped you to age now to be that modern and strong survivor?
Yeah, well, a few things come to mind when you say that. First of all, my dad was a doctor. I always wanted to be just like him and be a doctor. But I worked in a hospital the summer before college. I found out that wasn't going to happen. Scalpels and needles and things like that. But my dad was also, besides being a cancer surgeon, he was an avid private pilot, and he crashed in our private family plane when I was only 13. And I watched my mom, who, she took care of us. She didn't have a job outside the home. And I watched her face that incredible adversity. And I saw her resilience. And I think that she really taught me a lot in that, simply by example. She always gave me positive affirmations. Always be independent, always be able to take care of yourself. You never know what tomorrow's going to bring. So, be a strong woman. And I think those positive affirmations when you're a child are incredibly important. And so I try to do it with my kids. And I try to always, share that thought with other people, that they should give those positive affirmations to their kids. And then, I always was that I'm not only a glass half full kind of girl, but I am the one that just goes out where angels fear to tread. Now, also, I skipped a couple grades in school. So when I graduated from high school, I was only 16.
Wow.
And my mom, and this was in, the 60s, when, college campuses, they were burning their bras and free love and all that. My mom was like, "I'm not sending this 16-year-old out onto a college campus." So she found an ad for this college that was aboard a ship. And we sailed around the world. And I had applied to Berkeley and Stanford and UCLA. And I'd written my essays for all of them. She found an ad for this thing called World Campus Afloat. It's now called Semester at Sea. And she took my essays and she filled out the application, unbeknownst to me. And I got accepted. And she came to me and said, "This is what you're going to do in September. Wow. I'm going to drive you down to San Francisco." We lived a little north of San Francisco. "And you're going to get on a plane and fly to New York, and you're going to board this ship, and you're going to go around the world for 3 months. and you're going to study aboard the ship. And she said, because I want you to expand your horizons. I want you to see the world. I want you to want more for yourself. I want you to try to find your place in the world. And that really impacted my life. I mean, look, I came back and I couldn't bear the idea of going back and just being in the United States and going to school. So I went to Mexico, and I went to school in Mexico City for the next 3 years. And I was just the explorer. I was always wanting I was kind of like a teenage gypsy. I mean, wow. I wanted to go and I wanted to see how other people lived, and I wanted to see the world. And
finding self, discovering self.
It was self-discovery, but believe me, it had a huge impact on my being hired as a journalist. I spoke Spanish. I had been around the world. I think it's the reason why I was hired, at 24 years old as a journalist. And that was at a time when there weren't very many women on the air. So after just a couple of years there in my hometown of Sacramento, California, I got offered a job in New York City. And, from there, it just all kind of took off.
What do you think, what makes you really famous? Like famous? I mean, you're a rock star, almost.
My little world. But I think what it is, Mima, it's your ability to connect with people. It's your ability to just be yourself completely, so that people really feel that you're there with them, talking to just them. And, when I do interviews, I'm like, I want to be 150% connected.
Thank you.
Don't phone it in. And I used to see that difference between different stars that came on Good Morning America, because we interviewed everyone who was anyone. And, some of them did kind of just come and phone it in, and others connected. And I remember interviewing Farrah Fawcett.
Wow.
At the height of her career when she was on Charlie's Angels. And I said to her, why do you think it is that you have just captured the imagination of the world, that you're like such a huge star when there are a lot of other actresses out there? And she said, I think it's my joie de vivre.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't actually know the meaning of that. I immediately went back to my office. I looked it up, and it's the love of life.
It is.
And that's really, she was describing the same thing I'm describing right now. It's a love of life. It's a curiosity for other people and what's happening. It's that real, absolute desire to know what's happening in other people's lives and just sharing on that really personal connection. And that's what she was saying that morning. And that's kind of what my answer is to you.
And I hope you will pass the same message to your kids. I mean, they have to be more than happy to have mom like you and dad on their side. I mean, I can really imagine they're pretty strong kids, self-confident kids. So I hope mine will be also someday like that. And it's really amazing to see them growing. And I think we don't have to do a lot of things to show them something. We just have to be there and feel right, feel comfortable with ourselves. And I think they pick everything like, they want.
And talk with them. It's hard when they get to be teenagers. They don't always talk to you. But then all of a sudden they'll open up and you'll have this incredible conversation. You'll say, oh my God, they're real people.
Real people, yes.
And I think the kids today, I mean, oh gosh, I think there's so much more mature and they know so much more and they bear the burden of all the stuff that's going on in the world. I think it's hard on them. I think it was much easier. Like when I grew up and the world was wonderful and it was Walter Cronkite was on the air, and whether you were on one side of an issue or another, we all watched the same person. So we all had the same set of facts. And today everything is totally fractured and there's so much discontent and divisiveness in the air. So I think it's much harder. And kids have phones. Yes. Like when we came home from school, we went outside and we played, and our mom said, come home by dinner time. Now they immediately reconnect like the instant they're out of school.
Yeah.
and they're connected. And I walked in my daughter, who's 15 now, and she'll always say, just so you know, I'm hooked up here. And she's on like a FaceTime with somebody, and they're just like in their rooms, but they're not alone. And I've said to her, you need to learn how to be alone. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the biggest dangers. They're connected all the time. And if I say, you know, we're going to take phones away for like 48 hours, it's, oh my God, we're going to be bored. What are we going to do? And I said, pretty much being bored is the goal here. Mm-hmm. So that we'll actually get together and talk or play a board game. Mm-hmm. Or, you know,
boring.
Yeah. And but you know what? I got them involved in it, and we played the board game, and we had so much fun.
Fun, yes. Crazy. But tell me about the importance of friendship. You always stress that friendships are so important in your life, and you just mentioned like kids have maybe an easier way to connect on a often or on a daily basis. You know, we are a little bit different. I like you, probably more contact, but you always mention find your friends, find your people that motivate you. How is important to have a friendship today?
I didn't used to understand the importance of friendship. I really didn't. And I was moving so fast through life. I don't think I gave as much credence to the importance of friends. And then the more I started learning about aging, and they say there are 3 things that determine whether you will successfully age. Number 1 is staying engaged in life. Number 2 is social connections, friendships, not just your daughter who comes over and takes care of you, friends that you can call. And then the 3rd thing is having a sense of purpose, which doesn't have to be, you know, volunteering at the hospital or joining a philanthropy. It can be a garden in your backyard, something that needs you to wake up and go out and tend to it, that you're needed. But the social connections, the experts that I spoke to for this book said, and I was so blown away to hear this, isolation has a negative impact on your physical well-being and your stress as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's pretty mind-blowing. And that really puts it into perspective. And for people who are getting older, you tend to, like my mom, she thought she was going to live till about 65. Because remember, she was the one who was a young woman where the age expectancy was 59. And she lived till 95.
95.
And, you know, she would say, you know, I don't have that many friends around anymore because I'm outliving them all. But she still had them, and they came over. And a lot of my friends that I hold so dear in my heart, my mom had kind of mothered them as when we were all teenagers. My house was the house that everybody came to. My mom would let all of my friends come along if we went on a ski trip or something. And so they go over and they would go and see her a lot. And that made me be able to put my head on the pillow at night on the East Coast when she lived in California, knowing that she would wake up and that people that she knew would be coming to see her. And that just shows you she wasn't alone. If I had anything to do differently, my only regret in life is that I would have gotten her into an active senior community earlier on, where all her girlfriends were, because their husbands had died. Because, you know, men statistically die before us. Of course, my husband always says the reason why men die before their wives is because they want to.
They want to? Okay.
That's why that's why I'm the public speaker and not him. He has a great sense of humor. And hey, listen, when I got married for the first time when I was 29 years old, and I married a guy who was 39, and we had 3 fabulous kids. They're all in their 30s. They're great. But we divorced. 20 years later, when I was 49, I got married again. And again, I married a guy who was 39.
Crazy.
That one worked out much better.
But that's really show how young, youthful, vital, vibrant you are. Yeah. It's really amazing. I mean, compliment, big big, huge compliment.
Thank you. Thank
Not
you.
only did you look much younger, you always say there's a number. I'm so happy I don't need my papers. I mean, it's a nice conversation.
We can just talk.
Yeah.
It's just a number.
There is a number. Everyone has a number. Like, you know, and I don't know why, but I feel really like this. Oh, you see, it's my alarm clock because I have to. It's reminder like, you know, only 10 minutes more.
I do it too. I do it too. For everything I have going, I've got my alarm clock. I also learned that write stuff down because you might think you're going to remember it.
I know,
but you might not. So
can I ask you really fast some questions?
Okay, go ahead.
I found them really important.
Okay.
Can you please, for aging but dangerous, finish the sentence? Aging but dangerous is, I know you like adventures. You're really a woman that faced and had lots of adventures in your life. But
it's openness.
Aging but dangerous.
Is openness. It's being open to all the possibilities in life, because people hear possibilities and they think, oh, that would be really amazing. I wonder who will do it. How about you? And if you took a page out of my playbook, it's this. If anybody asks you if you can do something, just say yes, and then go figure out how to do it. But don't say no.
But I feel sometimes I want to really say no, even more than before. No, no, no. And otherwise, I want to really sometimes say aloud, yes. Yes to the life, yes to the, do you
yes
feel
to life.
Like, you know, we for us women, it's sometimes difficult to say no?
I think, oh, definitely. And when I was younger, I really had that issue. And I mean, I remember my husband said, write down all the 10 things you're doing and figure out which 2 you're going to cross off, because like you're meeting yourself coming and going. But that's a tendency of women to take on everything and everybody else's, you know, needs. Oh, you need this done. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Before you know it, like you're totally overwhelmed. And it's not selfish to take time out. It's not selfish to go get that mani-pedi. It's not selfish to rest in the middle of the day if your body is telling you that you need to rest. There's nothing selfish about that. Self-care is responsible, and it's honoring our body and our life.
And there are some also tricky issues. You just said self-care. In your book, I really want to motivate everyone outside to read your book. It's an amazing book, full of gold. And it's kind of, self-care is very important. You stress that enough, and especially visiting doctors and taking care of themselves. Can you give us several advice how to proceed?
You know what, Mima? If one of our kids had anything going wrong, we would not hesitate for a second to take them to a doctor. So it's not that we're irresponsible. It's just that somehow we get shoved down to the bottom of our to-do list. So I think that, I think that as many times as we've all heard all of this, we need to be reminded every now and then, again and again.
That's true. You mentioned also, like, you know, it's very important to create a personal health history.
Yeah.
And what I learned about you, like, ask for your file. And I thought, wow.
Those are your files. Those are your files on your body and how your body works. And you can ask every one of your doctors for those files. And, you know, you can do it, you know, on your phone, you can do it anywhere. You can keep all of those. And so that, for one thing, when you go to a doctor and they take all this information down, and then they tell you, and then they give you a little card that says your next appointment is next year on this date, and you walk out. You go to another doctor, you know, a month later, and it's asking you all these questions and you can't remember. As I'm in a doctor's office, I write it all down. You know, under their contact of in my contacts, I have in the notes the last time I saw them and everything they did, every test they ran. And that way it's right at your fingertips. And once you get into the habit of doing it, and, you know, when you go to the doctor, usually at the end of an appointment, they say, who else do you want these records sent to? So if you're at the gynecologist and you have a primary care physician, and we should all have a primary care physician. That's the person who's the collector of everything. But then say, and also, I want you to send them to me.
Perfect.
Don't forget yourself.
Thank you for that. Really great reminder. Let us talk about sex. Oh yes, we'll go there.
Absolutely. I went there in the book.
You're so open, you're so real, and it's something that belongs to us more than anything in life. I mean, is there any possibility to keep that fire through aging?
And people, women might think, oh, I just don't have any desire anymore. The loss of libido comes with the loss of estrogen. And by the way, there's a loss of libido on the other side too. So don't take it personally if all of a sudden your husband's not as interested. They're going through this, they go through many of the same kinds of changes for different physiological reasons. But the other thing is that sex can become painful for a lot of women. And it's because you probably know that the skin on your face you lose collagen and it becomes thinner and it becomes not as plump. And that's why it kind of sinks in and why we get wrinkles. It happens on our hands. And that you're all aware of. Well, it happens to the lining of your vagina also. That's exactly like the skin on your face. And you can get vaginal, there are fixes. And I go through about 6 different fixes, including medical procedures that you can go through. The Mona Lisa thing that increases collagen, but you can get from your gynecologist a vaginal cream, which increases the estrogen right, but not to the point you have to worry about it being a danger for breast cancer. Yeah. But it topically helps thicken that skin, just like you would put things on your face to help plump up the skin. It's the same thing. So don't think that, oh my God, it's not comfortable anymore, so I just don't even want to go there. There are fixes for it, and it's good to keep a sex life active, besides the fact that it burns calories. But, but also, if you and your husband, as you get older, or whatever your mate is, try to get them interested in either working out together, playing tennis together, playing golf together, hiking together, doing those kinds of things that you would have done together when you were way younger. I think that also, I mean, when I play tennis with my husband, there's that little competitive spirit going on. I mean, I think that's also something that kind of spices up, a relationship. I remember Zsa Zsa Gabor once said, husbands are like fires. If they're not tended to, they go out.
You're perfect. I love it. That's really great. Tell me a little bit about mental health. How do you keep your mind sharp? What do you do? I mean, I know you're very engaged, and this daily communication, I know you have a meeting going after meeting.
I know, I'm on air like every and you know what? Like,
you're never tired.
I mean, you'll know when I retire. It'll be when I croak.
Oh my God.
I mean, I can't even imagine retiring. But you know why? Because I enjoy this. I started doing Facebook Lives right when the pandemic hit. My husband said, I don't get what you're doing. Like, every time I look at you, you're on the phone trying to book a guest, you're writing interviews, you're on. Why are you doing this? You're not being paid for it. I said, because I'm good at it and I like it and it's fun and I'm not bored. Everybody's talking about being so bored. I'm not bored. Okay. I barely have time to do anything. And so part of it is just looking for things to do in life. And, if you stay kind of on the sofa curled up, you'll tend to stay there. But if you get up and you work, turn on some music and dance.
Oh, yes.
Really, or sing. And women tend to get very kind of quiet as they get older, kind of meek. They go inside themselves. Turn on some music and sing, because it's physically impossible to whisper singing. So once you hear your voice and take that voice back, because it makes you feel like a stronger woman.
And you know what? I want to thank you. I know we have very less time. And I just thought, I want to see her dancing. Would you like to dance with me? Would you like fire?
Woo!
That's it.
I love it. And by the way, Mima, the book is red, which means that it's a perfect holiday gift.
It is.
For anyone that wants to give it to a woman in their life, their mom, their wife, their daughter. I mean, I think 20-year-old women should read this so they know what's coming down the pike and they don't freak out about everything so much.
It's amazing. Your book is really amazing. I just want to remind everyone, the Christmas time is coming. It's a present for us to see you, to have you here with Aging But Dangerous. I know there are so many questions still open. We want to hear much more from you, but
we'll
the
do
time is running. And
I'll come back.
Definitely, that would be a dream. That would be a dream. And please say the biggest hello and thank you to your beautiful assistant, Nicole, that supports us in this process, that communicates so charming with us.
Wonderful.
And bringing the conversation on the point, really amazing. Dear Joan, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. We love you.
Stay safe.
See you.
Bye-bye.